Hello guys, and welcome to a new Star Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a quick overview of all of the new Axis divisions available in the Blood Feud in Transylvania DLC. This is following on from the video I did about the Allied division, so if you missed that, definitely go back and check it out. I did cover all of these divisions in the past, so I'll leave the links to the individual videos in the description. But since quite a lot has changed, and that was quite a long time ago, I thought that I would give you guys a quick overview that allows you to just jump straight in when you're using these divisions. Starting with Sperrverband Kessel. Now at first glance, this is a division that doesn't look fantastic. There's nothing particularly shiny about it, but it really is carried on the back of the Brandenburger, which you get many of throughout this division. Let's start off in the recon tab with the first Brandenburger unit. This is a 4-man recon squad with MP44s. They are 2 vet, which does allow them to do a decent chunk of damage to units that randomly find them. And they do have smoke to get out of dodge as well, so that's quite handy to have. Then we have a card of the Hadosztaly. These guys are a disheartened recon squad, 12 men with exceptional stealth. Make sure you keep them on return fire, and they will be very good recon units, and if they come under fire too much, then they'll automatically retreat, which is quite nice when you're not paying attention. The other options here are the Aufklärer and the Solothurn. In the infantry tab, this is where things really start to get good in Sperrverband Kessel. There are a lot of options. You've got all of the Brandenburger units, so Brandenburger Pioneers, a really strong 2-flamer unit. The standard Brandenburger, which are a fantastic unit of range with double MG42 with base 2 vet. And then you also have the HE for if things are getting too close. We have the Panzergrenz, the standard Panzergrenz. You can get quite a lot of Panzergrenz in this unit. You can get 1 of the normal Panzergrenz and 2 cards of the Panzergrenz and Panzerfaust, although these can only come in phase A and B. Then I have a card of the Hegi Vadaz. These guys are a 13-man raider squad with Molotovs. And then you have an abundance of other units. So you've got standard sort of German Pioneers. You've got the Hatta Vadaz, which are the 12-man Flamer squads. Pretty cool as well. There's Arkasok in here, Sturm Pioneers, and you can also get Ersatztruppen if you want. There are 2 disheartened units. You get Ersatztruppen. You can also get the Sike. These guys are a 12-man disheartened squad with Molotovs. Personally, I think they're maybe a little bit too expensive for what they do, but you do get an abundance of them in phase A, B, and C. In the tank tab, things are pretty standard, just Panzer IVs and Stugs, basically, Stug 3s and Stug 4s. You can set this up to have quite a significant amount of Stugs in phase C. So if you take both of the cards of Stugs in phase C, technically you could bring 30 Stugs in phase C, whilst just having your Stug 4s in phase B and then Panzer 4s maybe in phase A. There is a lot of potential here for like some solid late game divisions, particularly for like 3v3, 4v4 and 10v10. Whilst in 1v1 you can certainly stack the division forwards with high veterancy in order to get a lot of value out of individual units. And that is something that goes on throughout the entire battle group. In the support tab, I do have these Chindur. I think I'm not entirely sure if I'm saying that correctly. I apologize. But these are your military police. They come as a 13 strength squad with fanatical trait, so they can't surrender themselves whilst also keeping up other units around them. So that's pretty cool. But the availability curve is a bit bad, so I'm just bringing them in phase 8 for 4 of them. Just overall a decent squad for 20 points, honestly. I've also got the Brandenburger MG42. MG42 is always great. And then we have the Stür 42, we have the Commander and some supply. And the nice thing about the Brandenburger MG42 is it does have exceptional stealth because it is a raider, as opposed to the normal MG42, which only has very good stealth. So that's why I'm bringing that Brandenburger here. Other options in the support tab are pretty cool. There is the CV33, which is a little tankette that also has the military police trait. You can get the Flampanzer if you want it, and then you got your choice of commanders. In the anti-tank tab, there is a Panzerstrak team, that you can get 2 cards of, so I've got both cards, and then I've got Marders in phase A with Pack 40s in phase B. This does leave you a little bit vulnerable in phase A, not having like an AT gun in phase A. You could certainly shift the Pack 40s to phase A, or bring in some of the 40mm AT, or even like Panzerbuchses or something. Not bring in the Stug 3s in this case. Anti-air in this division is actually not too bad. You have Flakflings and SDKFZ 7-1s in phase A, but they are phase locked. And then there is either 40mm Bofors or the 88mm. Actually, no, these aren't the Bofors. This is the specific Hungarian 36M 40mm AA, which has AP shells. So yeah, this is a nice AA piece anyway. Really, really strong. So definitely worth taking. The 88s is kind of like a maybe if you don't want as many Flakflings, but Flakflings are great. Artillery, I brought the Vespers in phase A because they're phase locked to phase A, and then I've brought 81 radios in phase B. With plenty of off-map in phase C. 149mm off-map is pretty good, and these cards get 3 strikes on each, which is decent, so definitely worth taking. Other choices are mortars and some crappy 75mm artillery pieces. In the air tab, we got the BF-109 G6 U4, and then I've got Focke-Wulfs. Focke-Wulfs are great, and yeah, these are no exception. The 250kg bomb and 450kg bombs. A really nice payload and really decent availability in each phase. Other options are JU-88s with different payloads. You can also bring in gun pod, JU-87D5s, or even ME-210s, and then you've also got your recon. But the Focke-Wulf 189 in this division does not have bombs, which is a little bit of a letdown. And there's your lot. So Sperrverband Kessel, overall, I think is a very strong infantry-based division, which can back itself up well with high veterancy Panzer IVs and Stugs in a 1v1. If you want to go for like more of a long game, you can certainly shift that to the late game, bring in plenty of Stugs either in the tank tab. You can also get Stugs in the anti-tank tab, and you've also got the Sturs. So there is a lot of good infantry gun support here, or sorry, tank assault gun support, I should say, to back up your infantry. And overall, Sperrverband Kessel does certainly pack a punch. Moving on to the second Pancelos, this is the second Hungarian armoured. So you're going to be getting a little bit of meat on your bones here, and a lot of Nimrods. Let's start off in the recon tab though. We have the Lovas Feldelitok as my mainline recon infantry. They do have the exceptional stealth, as well as being able to do decently in combat by themselves due to their base veterancy of 1. I've also got the 2 Panzer III Ms, which come in at phase A with 2 veterancy. With the 60% accuracy on the AP shell, these things are very reliable at killing light and medium armor, so definitely worth taking. Other options, Toldi 2s, Chabas, the Feldelitok Yarol, and the BMW motorcycle. In the infantry tab, things are actually pretty cool here. There's not necessarily a lot of different units to pick from, but it's like Modloves, which do have MG42s, or you can get Modloves with a Solothurn, but you get a bazooka, which is really cool. This is a Hungarian bazooka. Then there is the Mod Akazak, which are like your close range infantry. So you've got basically more long range focus infantry, that kind of sacrifice a bit of power so that they can bring in AT, and then you've got close range infantry. That's kind of like your lot. There is a card of Kellock Palasok, but I don't think they're worth it in this division, and same with the Loves. So that is pretty much it for the tank tab. Not bringing in any leaders in the tank tab, or sorry, in the infantry tab, because I've got leaders in the tank tab. So I'm bringing in the Toldi 2s, and these are going to be my leaders. They don't really have much power in of themselves, but they can stay alive because they're armored. So that's what I'm using them for. You could potentially use the Turan 1 or the Turan 2 in phase A instead, but you're sacrificing availability. Then I'm bringing in Turan 2s in phase A to provide HE and machine gun fire support for my infantry, whilst bringing the Panzer IV for dealing with enemy tanks, and also the Ace as well, the Ace Panther A, which is pretty cool. Then we have the Tigers and the Panthers in phase B. Phase B is the latest phase you can bring them in, so I'm maxing my availability by bringing them both in Phase B, and then an extra card of Panzer IVs in Phase C with extra veterancy, so that we can push them to 3 vet and get a lot of value out of them. The support tab, MG34s, I've got a commander and the supply. The support tab here is pretty naff. You'd probably want to bring in the flamers if you were going to be playing in a 1v1, but otherwise things are pretty simple here. Just bring as much supply as you need for your artillery. Anti-tank, very expensive tab this. Not really much room for bringing in the Panzerjagd teams or the bazookas, but it's just as well that most of your infantry have bazookas. So that's how you kind of make up for it in this division, and I'm using my anti-tank tab specifically for anti-tank weapons. So the 75mm guns, the one that has decent HE, good for killing infantry, and of course the Pak 40 that is fantastic for killing enemy tanks. In the anti-air tab, Nimrods. Nimrods are the way. The standard Nimrod, not the 42M variant. You can up vet to get 2 in Phase A. If you up vet the 42M variant in Phase A, you only get 1. So I'd recommend bringing in the standard Nimrod in Phase A and then the 42M variants in B and C. They come with the heat shell that can be fired at 750 meter range with 200 mils penetration. So at close range, you can actually catch out really heavily armored targets like IS-2s with these rockets. Basically, a rocket gets mounted on the front of it and it absolutely blast tanks away. Really, really cool. Anyway, other options, the classic 36M 40mm, which is a really good anti-air as well, and the 80mm AA. In the artillery tab, there is a lot of 149mm air artillery pieces available. I'm actually bringing 8 of them just so that I can make use of the tractor supply. And then I have 81mm mortars in Phase A just to allow me to harass any support weapons that might be annoying me, or try and pin down any enemy AA so that I can utilize some of my aircraft. And in the air tab, we do have Focke-Wulf 189s. These do have bombs, unlike the last division, which is good. And then we have the BF 109 G6 R6s in A, which you get 4 of, really good availability. Ju-88 in Phase 8, good for hitting convoys at the start, or just like large groups of tanks. And then the Ju-88 A4, which is a pretty cost efficient big bomber. 2 500 kilogram bombs with 10 50 kilogram bombs is going to kill infantry very reliably and potentially do damage to tanks as well. So other options, ME210s, BF 109s, Ju-88s with different payloads, that's pretty much a lot. Overall, the second Pancelos is a pretty nice division because it combines strong AA with decent tanks, and then you also have decent enough infantry to support said tanks. And these infantry on their own, particularly like the Modeloves with a little bit of veterancy, because they have MG42s, can be very good. And you've also got bazookas on that infantry, so you can deal with any armor that's getting a little bit too close. So quite a scary division, honestly, and probably one of my more favorite Axis divisions, and also has utilization of the late game if you really want to go there with the artillery. Otherwise, I would stick to balanced. I don't think this could go Juggernaut, honestly, unless you were to go really heavy on the artillery in a team game. I think this has great potential for 1v1s in a Maverick setup because of the Tiger Panther setup towards the early game, as well as the Nimrods, which are going to easily shut down the air. So that's pretty cool. Last but not least, we have the 25th Hadosztaly. These guys have changed the most out of all of the battle groups since I did my battle group previews. So if you go back and check out my battle group preview video and things are looking a bit different, that would be why. Let's start off in the recon tab. The Lovas again, pretty standard for me to bring these. I really like having chunky recon squads with exceptional stealth and very high optics. Just reliable recon is super important in Steel Division 2, and these are perfect for that, whilst also having some combat capability if you need it, but not something I'd prioritize going in. You can get, of course, the different types of BMWs. You got the Valdarotola, which are your standard 2-man recon squads, the Hadosztaly as well, bit of a mouthful, Chabas and Panzer IV recon in Phase B if you want them. In the infantry tab, things are pretty standard overall. Like in this case, I've just got Hegi Vidas in A, B, and C, which are 13 strength raider squads with the Molotovs. We've seen them before. And then the Lovace 25G, which are Lovace with 2 machine guns and an extra submachine gun, as opposed to actually extra 2 submachine guns, sorry, instead of the extra rifles. So you're paying an extra 5 points, but I think their extra machine gun makes them better at closer range, or sorry, longer range, and then their extra submachine guns make them better at closer range, and they also have the fanatical trait, so they can't surrender. So for an extra 5 points, I think it's definitely worth it, and up vetted, they can be nice and strong. I've got leaders in both A and B, mainly because the B leaders, you get a lot of them, and they're a 6 strength squad, so pretty nice. Then I've got Panzergrens in C. These were added since I did my Battlegroup preview, and they definitely help round out the late game to assist the Hegi Vidas, which might kind of fall off quite a bit because on their own, they're not too great, but they can help deal with close range engagements. The tank tab here has been improved massively since I last looked at these guys. The Zrini used to be all you could get, and it's a pretty good assault weapon because it has 6 round per minute rate of fire base. With the 2-star veterancy here, you can see it goes up to 8 rate of fire, so it does chip infantry very fast and very quick. But in phase B, I'm opting to go for the T-34s now that you can bring in, which are Axis captured T-34s, and then Panther Gs in phase C, which are forced to come in at 1 vet, so you only get 4 on a card, but still a formidable tank to have. In the support tab, things are pretty lackluster. Lots of Schwarloser. You can get 6 cards of these if you wanted to. MG42s are available only in phase C though, but I think they're still worth bringing. Langsodderschock, definitely something you want to take if you're going for a 1v1. You also have access to 50mm mortars, but they only have 540 meter range, so not ideal. In my case, just bringing the infantry commander and 3 cards of supply due to my artillery tab that we'll get to in just a second. In the anti-tank tab, we have Pack 40s in A and B. I'm also going to be bringing in Su-85s in phase B and Jagdpanzers in phase C as my sort of continued armor throughout the late game to accompany the Panther Gs. So decent support, basically a Pack 4 gun, a Pack 40 gun with armor, which is very nice. No point in really bringing the AT guns these days, and the 40mm potential in 1v1 for sure, but maybe not for team games. Then we have the anti-air. The anti-air is actually really interesting. You have this cool rubber, which is, I don't know how effective it is. I haven't really had much of a chance to try it, but I just have it in here for the memes at this point. So there you go. And then we have, of course, the 36Ms. The 36Ms, fantastic AA, bringing in 2 cards with 1 veterancy. Push these to 3 veterancy, they're going to be shooting down lots of stuff. You can also get a card of 88s if you want it. In the artillery tab, this is the explanation for why I have so much supply in the support tab, is because I'm doing 2 cards of 120mm mortars. So that's what I'm going to be relying on for the early to mid game in my artillery tab. And then I have Hummels in the late game for decent counter battery, and they've got 147mm as well, which are going to be bringing in the tractor supply trucks with them. So solid late game artillery choices, and you can get 4 cards of these in the 25th Hadosztaly, so you could really focus on it if you wanted to. They do get some off map, but it's not too convincing. 315 km/h speed, 105mm caliber. Not a huge fan of these. You can also, of course, supplement in artillery leaders if you wanted to instead of the infantry tab, which is something I might do later on if I feel like I need more infantry. Air tab, though, is pretty cool. You get the Hedger. These guys are, I think these are like Heya, actually, sorry, pronounced something like that, Heya. These are just really decent, quick recon aircraft with medium resilience. So yeah, you get 4 in phase A, Definitely worth bringing, in my opinion, so that you can strafe people with these 12 mg gun pods. You get 6 guns on both sides in these gun pods, and then you've got the guns on the thing itself, which is 2 20mm. So yeah, bringing in 2 of these with 2 vet in phase A, you're going to be pinning down infantry very quickly. Ju-87 comes in with 500kg bomb and 4 50kg bombs, really strong phase A payload, and then I've got Focke-Wulfs for helping me out with fighters. There is also the option of the G6U4, which does have a 30mm, another very strong fighter, but the Focke-Wulfs do have the extra resilience that makes them better at surviving against AA. There's other Ju-87 payloads, and there's also the really cool Me-210 with 4 210mm rockets, so lots to mess around with in this tab. But overall, the 25th Hadosztaly initially looked really trash back in the day, but has been improved massively with the introduction of some Axis units. Like a lot of the the Axis, German units that have been added to this division really help it out, like the Panzergrens in the late game, Panther Gs, Jagdpanzers, Hummels, all that good stuff really rounds off the division for like a late game team game, particularly like 3v3, 4v4, and 10v10. Unfortunately, I think this division might suffer in 1v1 because a lot of its good stuff doesn't really come in early enough, and its infantry may not be as high quality as some of the other divisions, and it's very reliant on its artillery. So I think there's potential to mess around with the deck in 1v1, but it's not going to be that strong compared to some of the other options in the Blood Feud in Transylvania DLC. As you can see, again, I have set up all of these divisions for the balanced deployment type because I do think it is the best for team games. There is potential for Juggernaut in some of these, like the Hadosztaly here. A Juggernaut division might work, particularly if you push a lot of the infantry to phase C and have a lot of artillery. It could work, but not something I would necessarily recommend if you are new to the game or newer to the game or just trying out this division for the first time. That's where I'm going to leave it though, trying to keep it short and sweet. Hopefully you've enjoyed a look at all of the divisions available in the Blood Feud in Transylvania DLC. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.